Here comes Alex Bowman trying to make a move. Oh, and Kenseth gets into Allgaier up in the wall, taking out Bowman and Jones.
Number 10 on my countdown was the final lap crash of the Season 6 playoff Talladega race where Justin Allgaier was turned by Matt Kenseth up into Alex Bowman and Eddie Jones, ruining Allgaier's chance of advancing to the next round of the playoffs, because if any of you remember in Season 6, Justin Allgaier was like the Cinderella story. He won at Kalamazoo Speedway, made his way into the playoffs, and then he was doing very well and had a chance to move on, and he was crashed on the last lap going for the win. And I really like that crash too, because I like how Allgaier dipped down and went right back up to the wall. I know it's a scary crash, but in the stop motion world you can kind of make it softer than it really looks, and you can make the drivers okay. But I know it's a scary crash, but I think it just looked good replicating that style of crash up into Alex Bowman, which unfortunately Alex Bowman was taken out in the crash too. And if I recall right, I remember wanting Alex Bowman to win that race, but then I was like, now let's keep Marcos Ambrose moving on, and Ambrose ended up winning that race.
Here comes Michael Waltrip. Oh, we got a crash. Harvey into the wall. Hardy flips again, and now Stewart hits him. He flips hard.
The next Talladega crash was from the Season 1 remake that I did back in 2012, and it actually took out my own fictional character in the stop motion world, Gino Harvey, driving the number 4 purple machine that my brother actually drew for me. And that race was wild because I did not follow the script at all. Most races that I remade, I tried to follow the script, make it like it was. But this one in particular, I remember I made the Talladega race like a new winner. Dale Jr. originally won that race. Casey Mears ended up winning. And then I made up fictional crashes too. And the one on the last lap, I might remake because I don't want to be cocky, but I have better skill than I did back 7 years ago. And it'd be cool to kind of try and replicate that crash, especially on my newly improved Talladega Super Speedway. It'd just be a lot of fun. And I just remember how wild that backstretch crash was, and then how wild the finish was. And that's why it is definitely in my top 10 countdown. But I don't have it in the top 5, mainly because it's a little choppy. I wasn't as experienced. Back then my tripod was broken too. So if you go back and rewatch Season 4, and you'll see that later in the countdown in the Season 4 Talladega race, where just the camera work is very choppy, and I would really like to recreate some of those finishes.
And they're going backwards early on here in Talladega, and then they go around. It's Kane and Austin Dillon. Michael Shelton goes overboard. Looks like Chris Buescher almost got into the fence.
The next crash is from the Season 8 regular season Talladega race, where Dale Jr. ended up winning. But mid-race, I had a crash on the Alabama Gang Super Stretch. And I was really excited to replicate a big crash on that backstretch, because this was the second race I ever filmed on the newly remodeled Talladega Super Speedway. And I was very excited to show that Talladega Super Speedway off, and I was happy to get to do a crash in the style it was, where Chris Buescher got up on, he was like riding the wall, kind of like how Chase Elliott was back in 2017 in the Hooters car on late race backstretch crash. And I kind of tried to replicate that crash in a way, not totally. It only took out about 5 or 6 cars, so it was just a lot of fun to make. And crashes at Talladega, especially on a backstretch, can get pretty wild.
No, but Boyer takes the lead from Harvick. The Force can't get it done. Here comes Boyer in the lead. Oh, we got a crash. Danica Patrick involved. No surprise there. Oh, Kyle Busch up into the wall hard. Jimmy Johnson looked to be caught up in that one.
All right, coming in at number 7 is the Danica Patrick. No surprise there. My commentating used to be pretty wild back in the day, and kind of like a no-chill attitude, and I wish I really wouldn't say some things, but that one was kind of funny. I was rewatching, I was like, did I really say that? And it actually, I really like that crash too, because it's kind of like a crash in the back of the pack, which I don't normally do, because I usually have the leaders crash. So that was something different, having like the back of the pack drivers have a big wreck, and I think it turned out pretty cool, where Danica Patrick went a little airborne, got off her all 4 wheels for a split second there. Marcos Ambrose, Kyle Busch was involved. And that was a Season 5 regular season race. And it was just a lot of fun to film that one. And then when I was rewatching, I put it number 7 because I said Danica Patrick involved. No surprise there.
block. He's too late. Oh my gosh, they made contact. No wreck. There he goes. Around goes Brian Scott. Up into the field. Truex involved. Matt Kenseth. Carl Edwards.
Coming in at number 6 is from the same race as number 8, the Talladega regular season race, season 8. And it involved another driver that often crashes, and that would have been the number 44 of Brian Scott. He was actually competing for the race lead, and if you remember, a lot of you, the 2016 Talladega playoff race where Joey Logano won, but who came in second? That would be Brian Scott. So I obviously used his plate experience. He's a pretty decent plate driver, but I put him up front, and I think he actually made contact with a fictional driver, Logan McDaniel, and he went on the apron, tried to save it, then he went right back up into the track and collected like 5 Toyotas. I remember it was Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Truex, Kyle Busch, and I think that was it, just 4. But that's a lot of Toyota drivers, especially basically all from the same team, since Truex and Furniture Row were basically a Gibbs car. And that track, I really like it because how Brian Scott dips down and then goes right back up to the field and chaos ensues.
Brad Keselowski not giving up on this race, but neither is Michael Shelton. Michael's going to get his way, but Chase Elliott goes around in the backstretch. Hard into the inside wall on the backstretch. No caution. Through 3 and 4. Keselowski gets loose. Up into the field. Hits the wall.
All right, now we're in the top 5 Talladega crashes. And coming in at number 5 was my wild finish, and it's probably my favorite finish in the Aflac Cup Series ever. Not even just at Talladega, it's probably ever. Was the Season 8 playoff race at Talladega. And on the final lap, playoff contender Chase Elliott spins out on the backstretch. It looks like his playoff hopes are done. He hits the inside wall very hard, but he's able to muscle around and finish. And this is very important because coming to the checkered flag, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and others spin and crash, and that was able to lift Chase Elliott into the playoffs by finishing with those drivers crashing. And if a lot of you remember, Matt DiBenedetto got him at the line.
And Jeff Gordon, and now in the lead. Oh, Gordon gets in the wall. Oh, he's in the catch fence. Harvick flips. Many cars involved. Awesome.
All right, number 4. I really like this crash. 1, because it shows that I'm not biased. And 2, it was an awesome wreck. A big wreck coming, I believe it was 2 laps to go. They were coming to the white flag. And Jeff Gordon gets turned into the outside wall. And in the race, I said he hit the catch fence, but that sounds a little ridiculous, so I kind of want to change that. Like, he just got airborne, all right? He didn't hit the catch fence. He actually didn't hit the catch fence. But he got close, let's just say that. But he, it's kind of like the Kyle Larson wreck at Daytona in 2013 in the nationwide race, where Larson was going towards the wall, and then I think he hit Regan Smith, I can't really remember, and that, like, jacked him up and into the catch fence. But in this case, Gordon didn't hit the catch fence, but he did get hit by Harvick. And then a lot of the cars wrecked behind him, like Austin Dillon and just many others. They kind of piled into the infield, and if I could remake that wreck, maybe I'd make them kind of go different places. But yeah, I really like that crash, just the way that Gordon and Harvick collide and the way Gordon goes up into the air. And he didn't hit the catch fence. Let's just say he didn't hit the catch fence, because it sounds a little ridiculous, because if he would have hit the catch fence, then there would have been a lot of repair time. Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
On the back they come. Oh, we got contact. It's Mike Skinner. He blows over. Oh, we got a lot of cars in it now.
At number 3, we're going back in time to 1999. A lot of you probably remember, it was fairly recent. ACS 99 took place last year, and the Talladega race was probably one of my favorite ones I've ever filmed, honestly. And the crash I had on the backstretch where Mike Skinner tumbles. I really enjoyed filming that. He tumbled down the backstretch, and I think Kevin LePage actually ends up tumbling as well at the end. Terry Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Sr., a lot of big names involved in this crash, and just showed the carnage that can take place at any moment in Talladega in 1999 especially. And it was fun to kind of go back to that old school kind of style of pack racing. I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of you should check that race out.
Down the backstretch he comes. Matt Kenseth to the inside. Oh no! Regan Smith hard to the inside wall. And then he gets Waltrip involved. They all crash. Oh my, big wreck. No caution. Caution's not thrown. Here comes Stewart and Edwards. It's going to be photos finish. They get wrecked. And it's going to be Bryce Harvey.
All right, number 2. Everybody wrecks. Literally, I think I had all but 2 drivers wreck in this race. And it all started with Regan Smith spinning down the backstretch on the final lap. And then I because this race was filmed after the 2012 playoff race at Talladega where Matt Kenseth won. But if a lot of you remember Tony Stewart and Michael Waltrip spinning in front of the entire field in turn 3, I kind of tried to replicate that. And I kind of don't like that I used to do that, like replicate a lot of real life stuff. And now when I replicate stuff, it kind of just happens by chance. But this one was totally like a copy of what happened in real life, where Michael Waltrip and Matt Kenseth wreck, and it pulls everyone into the outside wall. And then I think all but 10 drivers escape it. It's Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart fighting for the win, and they wreck on the tri-oval. And I really like this wreck. I like the concept of the wrecks. I like the concept of the finish. But the camera work is awful because, like I mentioned earlier, I had a broken tripod, and it was hard. I just wish I would have just went out and got my own tripod. But then again, it was, I didn't have a lot of money back then. And I don't have a lot of money now anyways. But, yeah. Michael Waltrip wrecks. Everyone wrecks. It was a big, big crash, a big finish. And I think it's one of my higher viewed videos as well. So if a lot of you want to check that one out, maybe look for a replication of some of these wrecks on my channel soon. Because I would really like to make a lot of them. Again, including this one, because the camera work is awful.
White flag. It's David Ragan and Brad Keselowski. David Ragan leads that lap over Brad Keselowski. Down the backstretch they go one more time. Keselowski goes around. Big crash down the backstretch. Oh my goodness. Major pile up.
And at number 1, Everybody Wrecks Part 2. I named it that way because literally everyone wrecks on the backstretch. And this used to be my favorite finish until I filmed the Season 8 Matt DiBenedetto crash. But this is Season 7 playoffs. And it was almost my last Talladega race ever because a lot of you remember Season 7 was... I planned that to be my last season, but I figured out I can use my time more wisely and still make stop motion. So, yeah, this was crazy. I tried to go out with a bang, and it was fairly popular because Brad Keselowski gets turned, and he comes right down into, I think it was David Ragan, and then everyone wrecks. Bryce Harvey and Joey Logano make it through, and a lot of the back markers make it through too because like they were all kind of wrecking. And if I could recreate this crash as well, it would be nice because they all kind of like I have a problem with just cars funneling into one spot, and it would be nice to have them kind of like spin. And that's what I tried, like I fixed that with the 1999 wreck. That's why I like that one too, because they all just didn't funnel to the same spot. Some stayed up high, some came down low. And yeah, just I really love this wreck. It was awesome, and that's why it is my number 1 favorite. So out of these 10 and out of the other crashes that you've seen at Talladega, what are your top 5, top 10 maybe? Feel free to use my footage, make a video on it, do whatever you'd like. I mean, Talladega races are probably my favorite thing I've ever made. I enjoy making Talladega races, and the first one I chose in particular was the one where everybody wrecks. And maybe in Season 10 we'll have a newer wreck to include. And I didn't include any of the Season 9 wrecks because there was a lot of wrecks in that race, but they're all kind of... I mean, they were nicely animated, but I don't think they were worthy of the top 10. So, but if you think some of them were, feel free to add them into your own top 10. But this is my top 10 Talladega crashes I've made personally. And feel free to debate in the comments. Just be nice about the debating. I mean, you know. But thanks everybody for watching. This is JG24, JM26, signing out.